When I did the ruffle on the machine at the store, I was using the very lowest model. Gala has lots of models. All the new models can do what my old machine could do. I want to make that very clear that they all certainly very capable. But when you do what I did, sometimes your ruffles are too short and sometimes they're too long. So I want to just show you how to manage that so they work. So first of all, you want to find the center, and if you pressed away the center, you might not be able to find it. So just fold it in half and put a pin just to mark it. It doesn't have to be perfect, but it's just an idea of where the center is. So I'm just going to put that little pin in there, open it up. And then the center of my ruffle is easy enough to find because that's where I sewed it together. So I'm going to just put one on top of the other and pin it to the center, like this. Now one thing, when you gather, it has a tiny bit of elastic in it. When you stitch it down, it will stretch a little. So be aware of that when you're deciding if it's too short or not. When you pull it, it might actually be the right length. If it is too short, work some of the gathers off of the end. Hopefully you have a nice long threads at the end that you can do that on. So you just want to work some of that off of the end until it is. And what I do is I just put one finger in the center and I just sort of stretch to see if that's going to fit. Stretch it a little bit and then pin it at the end. Then all you have to do on this one is just work the gathers so that they're more or less even. They don't have to be perfect, but you don't want any big gaps where there's like lots and lots of ruffles, and big gaps where there's no ruffles at all. But if you just get close, it'll look great. And then you can, if you want to, you can pin that in a couple of places so you know that when you sew it, it's going to be just fine. And you just repeat that on the other half. So that's what you would do, and then you would do this, you would just do the same thing on this end. On one that's too long, what you would do is, again, you've already seen me find the center. So I have this one centered. And on this one, you would just pull the thread, hold onto the thread, and pull it until it's the right length. Then once it's the right length, and you know it's going to be okay, you can pin that to the end and work the gathers. No differently. Just want to work it. Make sure it's not too long, so I might pull that a little bit are and you can see I already have the other end of this one done. So that are those two. Then I also showed you how to zigzag over a cord. When you don't have a shirring foot or a way to gather with your machine, you can zigzag over a thin cord. I used a 2 millimeter width, so just set your width on 2, and my length was 1.5. And then the cord becomes like a drawstring, and I can just pull on that without worrying about the thread breaking. Sometimes when you gather with a long thread, you get it all gathered and the thread breaks, which can be very frustrating. But this, you can just gather up until it's the right length and then work the gathers. And you can see on this end, I've already done that. So you can see I don't have much gather here, but I have a lot of gather. And I'm just going to just work it on that cord until it's more or less even. All right. Okay, once you have them on there, then you just pin it, and that looks pretty good to me. So then you would pin it and stitch it. I'm going to stitch this one. So I'm going to take it to the sewing machine, and